You're not gonna believe what I did this past weekend. I went out to Frisco, Texas, and I spent time with Steve Weatherford and his team and a group of about 20 guys who had joined his program. Now, for those of you who don't know, I'm actually working for Steve right now. Me and my brother have kind of tag teamed growing and scaling his online business. So I got invited out and I thought that I knew what to expect going into it, but it far exceeded my expectations. So the first thing that we did whenever we got over there was we got in a circle and we went one by one and kind of just introduced ourselves. And we basically just shared like a brief 2-minute testimony of who we were and why we were there. But guys were talking about their struggles with porn, their struggles with alcohol abuse, their failing marriages. Some of them have just been divorced, they lost their wives, and a lot of guys were there to grow in their relationship with God, but also sharpen their skills as leaders and become stronger men. And of course, I got to share my own personal testimony, just sharing about my struggles with being obese and pornography and having sex in college and being a degenerate and coming to Christ. And it was just a really cool experience. And after we shared our testimonies, we jumped right into a workout in the front yard. And so what we got to do for our workout was 700 lunges around Steve's neighborhood. And this is with a group of 20 guys. Steve is in the back blaring worship music out of this boombox, and it was awesome. Each of us got paired up with one other guy who was in the program. And so I had this other guy who had been, played football. He was a fullback and a linebacker, and he was this big stud guy. He was like 31 years old. And what was really cool about this was I thought the lunges were gonna really suck. Like I've never done 700 lunges in my entire life. But what ended up happening was me and this guy were so deep in conversation and getting to know each other, talking about why we're there and what we were looking to get out of it, and kind of sharing about ourselves, what we do for work, our relationship with Jesus, that we literally talked the entire time. And instead of focusing on the pain in my quads, I was so focused on this conversation and building a bond with this guy that I'd never met before that I didn't even realize how painful my legs were feeling, which is really cool. And it got me thinking like, man, it's always easier to go through something hard whenever you have other strong men around you, or you can share in that experience with somebody else, which was just really cool. So we ended up doing all the lunges. We're being super loud. I'm sure all of Steve's neighbors hate him. But we go through in a big old square around the whole neighborhood. We knock out the lunges. Everybody's firing each other up, yelling, screaming, high-fiving each other. I felt like we were back in football, like doing our summer workouts again. But instead of being a bunch of wild animals in high school with high teeth that just masturbate all the time, we were doing it to grow deeper in our relationship with Jesus. And I thought after we finished the lunges, like we got the hard stuff out of the way, I'm ready to, get in prayer or do whatever we're gonna do. That was easy. And I was not prepared at all for what we did next. The next thing that Steve tells us is, hey man, that was a good workout. We're done with that. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go jump in the ice bath. I'm like, dude, come on. I've never done a cold plunge or an ice bath ever. I hate the cold. I don't wanna do this. And so I'm sitting back watching people jump into these ice baths, and they're like freaking out in there. They're getting thrown down and dunked in the water, and they're having to stay in there for a full 3 minutes. And all the while, guys who are leaders on Steve's team are praying over the men inside of the ice bath. I'm watching it, I'm getting nervous. I'm like, oh dude, this looks really hard. These guys are like freaking out in there. I'm not ready. And finally, it comes my time to get into the ice bath. And this guy, Frank, who's on Steve's team, looks at me and he's like, hey brother, what are you leaving in that ice bath? Like what sin or what problem or what difficulty or what thing that's holding you back from reaching your true potential are you leaving in that ice bath? And I told him, like, I want to leave my judgmental mind in the ice bath. Like I want to stop looking at people and degrading them inside my own head. Like I want to love people the way that Jesus loves people. He's like, all right, brother, let's get it. And so I jump in and I go to dunk my head down, but I like barely even push my head down, and Frank grabs my head and throws it in there. I like get out and I'm like freaking out. And it was funny because they had literally said, dude, you're probably gonna hyperventilate in there. You're gonna have to do a good job of getting your breath under control and slowing down your breath and calming down in there. And even though I knew that I was gonna need to do that, I had absolutely no control over my breath, and I was not ready at all. So I'm sitting in there like hyperventilating, Frank's like, dude, breathe, like relax. And finally, after about 2.5 minutes, I'm able to control my breath and finally calm down, and I'm locked in. And it was the craziest thing because the time went by like that. And all of a sudden they're like, oh, all right, buddy, you can get out now. I was like, what? Dude, that was so fast. But it was just a really cool experience, like time locked in. It was all about denying your flesh and crucifying your flesh and doing something that you don't want to do at all, but doing it anyway. And that's what Steve said. Like the whole point of doing the lunges, the whole point of hopping in the ice bath was so we could crucify our flesh and do something that was really hard, that nobody wanted to do, but we wouldn't let our emotions dictate our actions. And so everybody did it, all 20 guys went in the ice bath, they did the lunges, and it was just a really cool experience. The next thing that we did was we just took time to pray over one another. Guys were really going through some difficult situations in their life, so we all got in a big circle and we prayed over one another. We did praise and worship. Steve was teaching everybody how to pray, and it was just really cool. Like people were sharing their heart, they were getting prayer, they were getting deliverance from things like porn and alcohol abuse and failed marriages and toxic relationships. And guys were just sitting in chairs. We were praying over them. We were praising the Lord. And that was really cool too, because I honestly don't get that a lot with the typical church that I go to here in Austin. It's mostly just read the scriptures and go to church on Sunday and go to Bible study and all that stuff, which is great. But I honestly feel like there's a higher ceiling, like there's more potential that you could reach with your relationship with God. And I firmly believe that it goes much deeper than just reading the Bible every day. So it was cool to be able to pray for somebody and speak out in boldness and claim things and declare things in your life. Like, Jesus, I'm believing for X, Y, Z. Like, I'm believing for a restoration of my marriage. I'm believing that you're going to free me from pornography, any of those things. We did that for about an hour. And then after that, what we did is Steve had us write down on a notepad things that we wanted to break out of our life, like generational curses, addictions, past relationships, any sexual relationships that we had in the past. If we had any soul ties, we were breaking those off too. Any girls that you watched on Pornhub, he even said to write those down. And so we wrote out these big lists. Then we got in a circle and we were just talking about, like, what do we want the Lord to deliver us from? What do we want to leave in the past? What do we want to break free from in our lives? And we just went one by one. And then once everybody was done, we took those pieces of paper and we threw them in the fire. And it was just a signifying of us letting go of the past us, becoming new creations in Christ, and allowing the Holy Spirit to sanctify us and to free us from those things. And so that we finished that, and that was basically day one. So really action-packed day one. We had another day on Saturday, about a half a day, where we did a lot of prayer. We went out and we prayed for people, which was also really cool, and getting bold and getting uncomfortable in your faith. But it was an incredible weekend. And I can honestly say that was one of the best weekends that I've ever had in my entire life. I connected with awesome guys. Guys were like-minded, who were all chasing after the Lord. But I got to see a different side of Christianity. And I know I talk about this on this channel all the time, like we need more strong, masculine Christian leaders and Christian men. But this weekend really opened my eyes to what was possible. Steve and all these older guys and these leaders really spoke into us and showed us that Christianity is not about being weak or being docile or just reading your Bible all the time. It's about getting out there and getting uncomfortable for your faith and standing up for what you believe in and being a light for people in your own life. We're called to be ambassadors for Christ. Right? And you need to actually be living it out and know how to pray for somebody and how to lead by example and be a true Christian, like a true follower of Jesus. Not just somebody that goes to church on Sunday or somebody that just reads their Bible and goes to the Bible studies and only hangs out with other Christians. Now, as I do with every single video that I make, I don't just tell you a story. We're also going to get into some talking points, and I'm going to teach you something valuable so you actually learn something from this video. But before I do, for those of you who don't know me already, my name is Braden. I help Christian men to completely transform their lives through faith-based self-improvement. If you want to join me on this journey, do me a favor, scroll down and click on that subscribe button, and I promise you it's going to be a win-win for the both of us. Now, the first thing that I thought after having this whole impactful weekend was there are so many weak, effeminate Christian men out there, and honestly, like, gets me fired up. Like, it honestly pisses me off, because from the outside, the average person who doesn't really know anything about Christianity, like, all they see are these weak, soft, borderline homosexual guys getting on TikTok and singing to a Brandon Lake song, or they're just like crying in front of the camera and they're just soft. And it really puts a bad taste in the mouths of guys who don't know anything about Jesus. Like they just pair Jesus with all these soft guys and think that Jesus was some hippie, some effeminate just dude that walked around the forest and prayed for people. And that couldn't be further from the truth. And the reason we have this is because men in general are weak. Like I love whenever you hear old people that talk about this generation is so weak and they're so soft and this and that, even though the reason for that is because they did a bad job with raising their children, right? Like it just makes no sense to me. And nobody wants to talk about it or talk about the elephant in the room, but weak men raise weaker men. And I see it all the time, and it really annoys me that there's so many soft guys on social media talking about Jesus. And I know it's not their fault. They just had a weak dad growing up, but to the average person who sees that, they're just gonna make fun of it and not understand it. And they're gonna think that every Christian is some soft guy. Like I used to think this all the time. Whenever I'd go out and drink with my buddies and I'd see somebody who was not drinking because they were a Christian, or when my brother got saved and he didn't want to drink anymore or have sex or do anything that the cool guys would do, I would just call him a puss, basically. Like I'd call him a wussy, and I didn't understand it. And I just thought everybody that was a Christian was soft. But I strongly encourage every guy who's thinking the same thoughts to give Christianity a shot, and most importantly, to get around a strong group of Christian men to see what it's actually like. This past weekend, I spent time with some of the strongest, most masculine, most bold men of faith that I've ever been around in my entire life. And it completely opened my eyes to what's possible. Especially in our world today, men need to surround themselves with other strong men who can push them towards excellence. One of my favorite quotes from the book, The Way of the Superior Man, is that good friends do not tolerate mediocrity in one another. If you know that your friends are not reaching their true potential and they're telling themselves that they're gonna get something done or they have some big goal, but you realize that they're not taking action on that goal, you should not tolerate that. This book also heavily emphasizes that you, as a masculine man, should always be leaning just beyond your edge. And what I mean by edge is anything in your life that causes you fear or discomfort. For example, if I'm really overweight, but I want to lose weight or get into better shape, and I'm terrified of going to the gym and I don't know what I need to do in there or how to work out, and I always get in my own head, I need to get my ass in the gym. In the same light, if I'm super socially awkward and I don't know how to talk to women, or I'm scared of speaking with girls, then I need to be pushing myself outside my comfort zone and going and speaking with women. And it's fairly simple, but you need to surround yourself with other guys who can push you outside of your comfort zone. And you should always be leaning just beyond your edge in every aspect of your life. Over the weekend, I was standing around Steve and these other guys that were just big and jacked. And I remember the thoughts going through my head were, dude, I need to be in better shape. I need to be more bold in my faith. I need to be a better leader and somebody that can pray over people like these guys are. I need to be more loving and understanding. I need to be less judgmental. I also could be doing more in my business. I could be making more videos. I could be reading more books and learning more so that I have more value to give to you. But I would have never had those thoughts if I always stayed in my bubble and surrounded myself with people who were below me, not in like an arrogant way, but people who don't push me to be a better man. If I always hang out with guys that are like, man, you're doing great. Your YouTube channel's doing great. I love your content, man. You're crushing in business. I wish I could be like you. Then I'm never gonna grow. The best masculine friendships involve competition and accountability. You need to surround yourself with men who are already where you want to be. Men who are older, wiser, and more developed than you are. And you can learn valuable advice from these guys. Proverbs chapter 27, verse 17 tells us that iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. So even the Bible realizes that you need to surround yourself with other strong believers if you want to grow deeper in your relationship with Jesus. And I'm going to safely assume that if you're watching this video right now or you're subscribed to this channel, you're not where you want to be in your life. And I can safely assume that because I am not where I want to be in my life. I could be doing so much more. I could be so much further along, and I always feel that sense of internal motivation that I need to push myself towards bigger and better things. And because I care about you, I went ahead and simplified everything into 3 simple steps that you can follow to make sure that you reach your true potential. Now, step number one is you need to get around the right community. You need to surround yourself with the right guys. And like I said earlier, you need to find men who are already where you want to be so that you can surround yourself with them, learn from them, ask them questions, and grow with these guys. The second important aspect is accountability. You need to have those same men who are pouring into you hold you accountable to the things that you say that you want to do in your life. For example, if you say, I want to get in better shape, you need to have those guys, A, teach you how to lose weight, but also hold you accountable to going to the gym every day and doing everything in your power to make sure that you lose that weight. If you want to learn how to grow a business, you need to get yourself around other guys who already have successful businesses so you can ask them questions, learn everything that they know, and then have them hold you accountable to doing everything in your power to build a successful business. And the third and final aspect that you need to start implementing on to reach your true potential is you need to become disciplined and consistent. Realize that it's not always about achieving the end goal. It's about doing the small things that you need to do every single day so that you actually have a chance of achieving the end goal. If you want to achieve true success in your life, you have to be able to do the same thing every single day and stay consistent day in and day out, even if you don't see the fruits of your labor initially. Success can take months, it can take years, it can even take decades, and you have to be ready for that. For me personally, I posted over 40 videos on this YouTube channel along with a handful of shorts, and we still haven't even reached 1,000 subscribers yet. But I'm not just gonna give up because it's taken a while to get some traction. I'm gonna continue to do everything in my power every single day to put out good, quality content because I realize that the only thing that I have control over is the inputs that I do every single day. Success has no guarantee, but what I can guarantee you is if you don't do anything, you're never gonna be successful. If I post the content every single week, I have a chance of popping off and growing the channel. But if I don't post any content, this channel will never have any eyeballs on it and it will never grow. I want you to realize that you can do anything that you set your mind to. And the formula for success is simple. All you need is a direction, a plan to get there, and you need to take action. Also realize that Christianity is not for the weak. It's for the strong, the bold, and the courageous. I want you to become the strongest, most masculine, most Christ-centered version of yourself. But in order to achieve success in that area of your life, you need to surround yourself with the right group of men. And if you want to reach your true potential as a follower of Christ, what I want you to do is click the top link in the description and join our free Christian Discord. All throughout this video, I've been harping on community and accountability, and this is the single best place that you're going to be able to find both of those things. Our group is filled with guys who are all on Christian self-improvement, trying to grow deeper in their relationship with Jesus and become the best possible version of themselves. So if that sounds of interest to you, click that top link in the description and join in. And me and all the guys in there are going to be happy to welcome you once you join. If you want to learn more about how to reach your true potential and become the man that God has created you to be, go ahead and watch this video. I hope that you enjoyed today's video. I hope that I motivated you. I hope that you learned something, and I hope that God blesses you, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.